Marcus Chen pulled his coat tighter around his body as the wind howled outside his small clinic. Rain pounded against the metal roof, making it hard to hear anything else. This remote colony world was known for its harsh storms, but this one felt different, more violent, more angry. 3 years had passed since Marcus left Earth and his career as a military medic behind. The memories of the Neptune conflict still haunted him. The faces of those he couldn't save visited him in his dreams. Out here on the edge of human space, he hoped to find some peace while still using his skills to help others. His clinic served the refugees and settlers who had no one else to turn to. The colonial government barely acknowledged this region existed. That suited Marcus fine. Less attention meant fewer questions about his past. The lights flickered as thunder shook the building. Marcus checked his medical supplies by the dim emergency light. His stock was running low again. The next supply ship wouldn't arrive for another month. A sudden crash outside made him jump. It wasn't thunder. Something had hit the ground near his clinic. Marcus grabbed his medical bag and emergency light. Against his better judgment, he opened the door and stepped into the storm. The wind nearly knocked him over. Rain stung his face like tiny needles. His light cut through the darkness in a thin beam as he moved toward where he thought the crash had come from. At the edge of the small clearing behind his clinic, Marcus found a crater in the mud. His light revealed something that made his heart stop. A hand. A massive humanoid hand with iridescent skin that seemed to glow faintly from within. Marcus slid down into the crater and found himself standing before the largest humanoid being he had ever seen. She, for the being appeared female, was at least 12 feet tall. Her skin shimmered with colors that shifted like oil on water. What looked like blue blood seeped from multiple wounds across her body. Despite his shock, Marcus's medical training kicked in. He checked for signs of life, reaching for the being's neck to find a pulse point. The moment his fingers touched her skin, a voice filled his mind. "Help me." Marcus stumbled back, falling into the mud. The voice had been inside his head. "Please. Not much time." Fighting his fear, Marcus moved closer again. "I'll help you," he said, unsure if the being could hear him over the storm. "But I need to get you somewhere safe. You're too big for me to move alone." The giant woman's eyes opened slowly. They were unlike anything Marcus had seen, deep purple with pinpricks of light that looked like distant stars. A galaxy contained in each iris. "I can help." One moment, the air around them shimmered. The rain seemed to slow down, then stop completely within a 10-foot radius. The giant woman's body began to shrink, the process clearly causing her pain. After several minutes, she was only slightly taller than Marcus himself, about 7 feet high but much more manageable. "How did you—" Marcus began. "No time." "They are coming." Marcus didn't ask who they were. He helped the woman to her feet. Even in her reduced size, she was incredibly heavy. Together, they struggled through the mud toward his clinic. Once inside, Marcus helped her onto his operating table, which creaked under her weight. Under the bright lights of his clinic, Marcus could see her wounds clearly. They were unlike any injury he'd seen before. The edges of the wounds glowed with a dark energy that seemed to be spreading through her body like poison. "I don't know how to treat these," Marcus admitted. "I've never seen your species before. I don't know your anatomy or what medicines might help you. I am Elira. My kind are known to your people only in myths. The ancients, some call us. The ancients? The beings who supposedly shaped the cosmos?" Marcus had heard the stories, but they were considered just that, stories. "Yes, once we were many. Now I am among the last." Her mental voice was growing weaker. "These wounds cannot be healed with your medicine. They were inflicted by the Void Eaters." Marcus gathered his courage and began cleaning the wounds as best he could. "What are Void Eaters?" "Entities that consume entire star systems. They erase civilizations from existence. They have hunted my kind nearly to extinction, and now they come for your worlds." A chill ran down Marcus's spine that had nothing to do with his wet clothes. "Why are you here? How did you find this place?" "I was running, carrying the last hope." Illyra's giant hand moved to her side where a crystal blade hung from a simple belt. "This is all that remains of our power, the only weapon that can stop them." The blade was beautiful, about the length of Marcus's forearm, made of a crystal that seemed to contain its own light source. It pulsed gently, almost like a heartbeat. A sudden beeping from Marcus's communication system interrupted them. He checked the screen and felt his blood run cold. Colonial Defense Forces were reporting unusual energy signatures in the area. They were sending patrols to investigate. "We need to move," Marcus said. "The military will be here soon. If they find you, they would not understand. They would take the blade, try to study it, use it as a weapon. It would destroy them." Marcus made a quick decision. "There's an old bunker beneath this clinic. A leftover from the first settlement. We can hide there until you're stronger." Using a hidden panel in the floor, Marcus opened the way to the bunker below. With great effort, they managed to get Eliara down the narrow stairs, just as the sound of approaching vehicles reached them. The bunker was small but secure. Marcus had stocked it with emergency supplies when he first arrived. He helped Eliara onto a cot and continued treating her wounds as best he could. "These Void Eaters," Marcus said, trying to distract her from the pain. "Why are they attacking? What do they want?" "They consume energy. All energy. From stars, from life, from reality itself. They do not want. They only hunger." Eliara's mental voice was fading. "They will reach your core worlds within a cycle of your sun if not stopped." Above them, Marcus could hear the sounds of colonial forces searching his clinic. They would find nothing suspicious. He had been careful to clean up any evidence of Eliara's presence. "How can they be stopped?" Marcus asked quietly. Eliara's hand moved again to the crystal blade. "This contains the collective power of my race. All who have fallen, their knowledge, their energy, their very essence. It is the only thing the Void Eaters fear." "Then why come to me? Why not use it yourself? The blade must be wielded by one whose species still carries our original gift. Compassion in the face of oblivion." Eliara's star-filled eyes fixed on Marcus. "We created many species across the cosmos, but humans were among our last and most cherished creations. You were made with a spark of our essence." Marcus sat back, stunned. "You're saying humans were created by your people? That we're some kind of experiment?" "Not experiment, heirs." Eliara's body shuddered with pain. "You were meant to inherit the cosmos when we passed beyond, but the Void Eaters came too soon. We were not ready. You were not ready. The colonial forces eventually left." Their vehicles rumbled away into the distance. Marcus continued to care for Eliara through the night, but her condition only worsened. The dark energy from her wounds spread further through her body. "There must be something I can do," Marcus said, feeling helpless. It reminded him too much of watching his squad members die on Neptune's moon, one by one, despite everything he tried. "You already are doing it." Eliara's mental voice was gentle. "You choose to help an unknown being at risk to yourself. This is why your kind was chosen." As dawn broke, Marcus felt the ground shake beneath them. It wasn't a natural tremor. "They have found this system," Eliara said, sudden urgency in her voice. "The scouts have arrived. The main force will follow." "What scouts?" "The Void Eaters," Marcus asked, fear gripping his chest. "Yes, we must go deeper. There is a place on this world, a temple of my people. It is hidden deep beneath the surface." Eliara tried to sit up but fell back in pain. "I can take us there, but it will cost much of my remaining strength." "You're too weak," Marcus protested. "You need to rest and heal." "There is no time for healing now." Eliara reached out and gripped Marcus's hand. Her touch sent electric currents through his body. "The blade must be passed on. You must accept it freely, or all is lost." Before Marcus could respond, the bunker door burst open above them. Colonial soldiers called down, demanding that whoever was hiding come out immediately. Eliara's eyes locked with Marcus's. "Trust me." In a flash of blinding light, the bunker disappeared. Marcus felt his body being pulled apart and reassembled. When his vision cleared, he found himself in an enormous chamber unlike anything he had ever seen. Massive pillars rose hundreds of feet to a ceiling that glowed with its own light. Strange symbols covered every surface, pulsing with energy. Beside him, Eliara had returned to her full size. The effort of teleporting them had clearly drained her last reserves. Her breathing was shallow, and the dark energy had nearly consumed her entire body. "Where are we?" Marcus asked, his voice echoing in the vast space. "The last temple of my people on this world. Built before your kind took its first steps." Eliara's mental voice was barely a whisper now. Here I will tell you everything you need to know.
Here, you will make your choice.
Marcus stared in wonder at the massive temple chamber. The air felt different here, heavy with age and power. He could breathe normally, but each breath seemed to fill him with energy. Eliara lay on the smooth stone floor, her giant form taking up a space the size of Marcus's entire clinic. The dark energy from her wounds had spread further, covering most of her iridescent skin with inky blackness. "This place," Marcus said, his voice echoing. "How long has it been here?" "Since before your world knew fire." Iliara's mental voice was weaker now. "My people visited many worlds, seeded many forms of life. This planet was once a garden where we tested new creations. And humans? You said we were created by your people." "Yes, one of our final achievements." Despite her pain, there was pride in her mental voice. "You were made with adaptability unlike any species before. The ability to survive in nearly any environment, to learn, to grow, to feel deeply." Marcus moved closer to Eliara, checking her wounds by instinct, though he knew his medical skills were useless against whatever was consuming her. "You need to tell me about these Void Eaters," he said, "and this blade. How can it stop them?" Eliara's massive hand reached out, touching Marcus's forehead gently with one finger. "Words are too slow. Let me show you." Suddenly, Marcus wasn't in the temple anymore. He was floating in space, watching stars being born. He saw massive beings of light, Eliara's people, shaping cosmic dust into new worlds. He witnessed them traveling between galaxies in the blink of an eye, bringing order to chaos, life to emptiness. Then came darkness. Holes in reality that consumed everything they touched. The Void Eaters had no form Marcus could understand. They were absence itself, hungry voids that erased matter and energy. He watched in horror as entire star systems vanished into their endless hunger. He saw the ancients fighting back, using their powers to contain the threat, but they were too few, spread too thin across the vastness of space. One by one, they fell. In a final act of desperation, the remaining ancients gathered their collective consciousness, their memories, their powers, their very essence into a single object, the crystal blade. The vision faded, and Marcus found himself back in the temple, gasping for breath. The experience had felt like hours, but only seconds had passed. "The blade," he said, looking at the crystal dagger still attached to Eliara's belt. "It contains your entire race, all who have fallen, their knowledge, their power, their hope." Eliara's star-filled eyes dimmed slightly. "I am the last guardian, the one chosen to find a worthy successor." "And you think that's me? A failed military medic hiding on the edge of human space?" Marcus laughed bitterly. "I couldn't even save my own squad." "Show me." Before Marcus could object, Eliara's finger touched his forehead again. This time she was in his memories. The Neptune conflict, the ambush that left his medical transport stranded behind enemy lines, 18 wounded soldiers under his care with supplies meant for 5. Marcus tried to pull away, not wanting to relive his greatest failure. But Eliara held him firmly as the memory continued. Day after day, Marcus worked without sleep, making impossible choices, using bedsheets for bandages, creating makeshift surgical tools from whatever materials were available, keeping 16 people alive for 3 weeks until rescue finally came. 2 had died despite everything he tried. Marcus had never forgiven himself. "You see failure," Eliara's voice echoed in his mind. "I see incredible strength. You kept 16 souls alive when all logic said they should have died. You never gave up even when hope seemed lost." The memory faded. Marcus found himself on his knees in front of Eliara, tears streaming down his face. "I should have saved them all," he whispered. "No being in the cosmos can save everyone." Marcus Chen. Eliara's mental voice was gentle. "Not even my people at the height of our power. The void consumes all eventually. What matters is how fiercely we fight against it." A sudden tremor shook the temple, sending dust falling from the ancient ceiling. The tremor grew stronger and cracks appeared in the massive pillars. "They are here," Eliara said, urgency in her voice. "The Void Eaters' scouts have entered this system. They sense the blade's power. They will come for it." "What can we do?" Marcus asked, steadying himself against a nearby pillar. "I am too weak to fight them now." The dark energy had almost completely consumed Eliara's body. Only her face remained mostly untouched. The blade must be passed on. You must decide. What happens if I take it? The blade will bond with you. It will change you. Not your appearance, but your very being. You will carry within you the essence of my people. Will it make me immortal? Marcus asked. Iliara's expression changed slightly, something like amusement flickering across her face. In a way, but not as you imagine. Another tremor, stronger than before, shook the temple. Large chunks of stone fell from the ceiling, crushing ancient artifacts around them. What about the colonial forces? They're searching for us. If they find this place, and they will soon have greater concerns. When the Void Eaters arrive, they will consume this entire world unless stopped. Marcus paced back and forth, mind racing. There must be another way. Maybe we can warn Earth, prepare defenses. There is no defense against the Void Eaters except the blade. No technology your people possess can harm them. They exist partly outside your reality. The tremors were coming faster now. The entire temple groaned under some immense pressure. How many people will die if these Void Eaters aren't stopped? Marcus asked. All of them. Every human. Every being on every world in this galaxy. The Void Eaters will not stop until all energy is consumed. Until all life is erased. Marcus thought of Earth. Of the refugees he treated in his clinic. Of all the worlds he'd visited during his military service. Billions of lives. If I take the blade, what do I do? How do I fight them? The blade will guide you. The knowledge of my people will flow through you. You will know what to do when the time comes. Another massive tremor shook the temple. This time, one of the great pillars collapsed entirely, crashing to the floor with a deafening sound. We are out of time, Iliara said. You must choose now, Marcus Chen. Will it hurt? Marcus asked, moving closer to Iliara. For the first time, Iliara's voice held a trace of humor. Yes, growth always does. Marcus took a deep breath. He thought of the 2 squad members he couldn't save. Of all the patients he'd lost over the years despite his best efforts. Of Earth shining blue in the blackness of space. I'll do it, he said. I'll take the blade. Relief washed over Iliara's face. With tremendous effort, she removed the crystal blade from her belt and held it out to Marcus. Take my blade and never know death, she said, her mental voice suddenly clear and strong. The moment Marcus's fingers closed around the handle, pain unlike anything he had ever known shot through his body. The crystal seemed to melt, flowing like liquid over his hand. It spread up his arm in thin lines, creating patterns like veins beneath his skin. Each pulse of light brought fresh agony. Marcus tried to let go, but the blade had become part of him. He fell to his knees, screaming as the crystal veins spread across his chest, up his neck, across his face. Through his pain, he heard something unexpected. Laughter. Iliara was laughing. Not a cruel sound, but one of profound relief and joy. Yes. Her voice echoed in his mind, growing stronger rather than weaker. Yes, it accepts you. The pain reached a crescendo as the crystal patterns covered Marcus's entire body. For a moment, he thought he would die from the sheer intensity. Then suddenly the pain vanished. In its place came knowledge. Endless, overwhelming knowledge. The history of Iliara's race. The secrets of the cosmos. The nature of life itself. It poured into Marcus's mind like a waterfall, threatening to wash away his very identity. Do not fight it. Iliara's voice came from everywhere now, not just from her physical form. Let it flow through you. You will not be lost. You will be more. Marcus opened his eyes. Iliara's body was dissolving into pure light. The dark energy that had been consuming her seemed to burn away as her physical form transformed into radiant energy. This energy swirled around Marcus, then flowed into him through the crystal patterns on his skin. With her last physical breath, Iliara laughed again, a sound of hope after endless despair. Then her body was gone completely, but her voice remained in Marcus's mind, joined now by countless others. The voices of the ancients preserved in the blade, now part of him. You understand now, Iliara's voice said, distinct among the chorus. You will never know death because we cannot truly die while you live. You carry us within you. Marcus stood up, feeling strange in his own body. He was still human in appearance, but he could feel the power coursing through him. The crystal veins beneath his skin glowed softly, then faded from view, though he could still feel their presence. Another violent tremor nearly knocked him off his feet. The temple was collapsing around him. They are here, the voices said in unison. "The scouts have found us. The main force will follow. What do I do?" Marcus asked aloud, though he knew the voices could hear his thoughts. "Go to the surface. See what we face. The knowledge you need will come when you need it." With newfound confidence, Marcus made his way through the crumbling temple toward a stairway that seemed to lead upward. Each step felt lighter than it should. His body moved with a grace and speed he had never possessed before. The knowledge of the ancients flickered at the edges of his awareness, too vast to comprehend all at once, but accessible when needed. He understood now why Eliara had left Marcus emerged from the ancient temple into chaos. The peaceful colony world he had known was transforming before his eyes. The sky, normally a soft blue, had turned an unnatural purple-black. Massive storm clouds swirled in patterns that defied physics. Lightning struck in constant flashes but made no sound. Colonial defense ships filled the air, firing weapons at targets Marcus couldn't see. Their shots disappeared into what looked like holes in reality, perfectly black tears in the fabric of space. The shots never emerged from the other side. Void Eater scouts, the chorus of ancient voices explained in Marcus's mind. They are testing this world's defenses. Marcus stood on a hillside watching the colonial forces fight an enemy they couldn't possibly understand. Their weapons were useless, their tactics meaningless. They might as well have been throwing stones at the ocean. A military transport flew low overhead, its engines screaming as it tried to outrun one of the void tiers. It wasn't fast enough. The rear of the ship disappeared into the blackness, then the middle, then the front. Then it was gone completely, as if it had never existed. "I need to help them," Marcus said. "Yes, but not yet." Eliara's voice, still distinct among the chorus, cautioned him. "You are not ready to face even the scouts. The main force will be exponentially stronger." "Then what do I do?" "Stand here and watch them die. Go to your clinic. Help the wounded. Gather information. The knowledge you need is within you, but it must be accessed gradually or it will overwhelm your consciousness." Marcus ran down the hillside toward his clinic. His body moved with incredible speed and agility, leaping over obstacles that would have stopped him before. The crystal essence within him enhanced his physical abilities far beyond human norms. As he ran, Marcus saw refugees fleeing toward the colony's main settlement. Families carrying whatever possessions they could grab, children crying in fear, the elderly struggling to keep up. It was a scene Marcus had witnessed too many times across too many worlds. His clinic came into view, miraculously still standing despite the chaos around it. Several injured colonists had already gathered there, drawn by the medical symbol on the door. Marcus didn't hesitate. He entered the clinic and began treating the wounded immediately. As he worked, he felt new knowledge flowing into his conscious mind, advanced medical techniques from the ancients. He understood anatomical systems he had never studied. He could see patterns of energy within the human body that had been invisible to him before. A woman with a severe burn watched in amazement as Marcus placed his hand over her injury. The crystal veins briefly appeared on his skin, glowing with soft light. The burn healed in seconds, leaving no scar. "How did you do that?" she asked. "New technology," Marcus lied, not ready to explain the truth, not sure if he even understood the truth himself. As he treated the injured colonists, Marcus gathered information. The Void Eater scouts had appeared in orbit 3 hours ago. Colonial forces had engaged immediately, but had yet to inflict any damage. Communication with the main settlement was sporadic. There were rumors that the colonial governor had called for an emergency evacuation of the planet. "They cannot evacuate quickly enough," the ancient voices told him. "The main Void Eater force will arrive within hours. This entire system will be consumed." "There must be something we can do," Marcus thought back to them. "There is. But first you must fully understand what you have become." A sudden commotion outside interrupted Marcus's thoughts. Colonial military vehicles surrounded the clinic and armed soldiers burst through the door. Their weapons were trained on Marcus immediately. "Marcus Chen," a stern-faced commander said, "you are under arrest for harboring a non-human entity and interfering with a military investigation." The injured colonists protested, pointing out that Marcus had been helping them. The commander ignored their objections. "Our sensors detected an enormous energy surge at this location earlier today," the commander continued. "Then you disappeared. Now you've reappeared and our sensors show that you're different. What happened to you, Chen? What was that entity? Marcus considered his options. The knowledge of the ancients offered several possibilities. He could disable the soldiers with a thought, teleport away, or even alter their memories. But those weren't his ways. Not yet, anyway. Commander, Marcus said calmly. I understand your concerns, but there's a much bigger threat to deal with right now. Those things in the sky aren't just attacking us. They're going to consume this entire planet, then move on to the next and the next until they reach Earth. I can help stop them, but you need to trust me. The commander's face hardened. You're coming with us, Chen. Whatever you know about these entities, you can explain it to our intelligence division. Before Marcus could respond, the building shook violently. One of the void tiers had appeared directly above the clinic. The ceiling began to disintegrate, pulled upward into the nothingness. The soldiers looked up in horror. Their training hadn't prepared them for this. Several fired their weapons into the void tear with predictably useless results. Now, Marcus, Eliara's voice urged. Show them what you have become. Drawing on the ancient knowledge flowing through him, Marcus raised his hands toward the void tear. The crystal veins appeared on his skin again, glowing brightly. Energy flowed from his fingertips, not destructive but restorative. It pushed against the void, forcing it to close like a healing wound. The soldiers and injured colonists stared in shock. The commander lowered his weapon slightly. What are you? He asked. I'm still human, Marcus replied, though he wasn't entirely sure that was true anymore. But I've been upgraded, and I know how to fight these things. A series of explosions rocked the colony's main settlement in the distance. More void tiers were appearing throughout the region. The situation was deteriorating rapidly. Commander, Marcus said urgently, I need to get to your command center. I need to speak to whoever's in charge of the defense. There isn't much time. The commander hesitated, then nodded sharply. Fine, but my men keep their weapons on you. One suspicious move and… I understand, Marcus interrupted. Let's go. They loaded into military vehicles and sped toward the main settlement. Along the way, Marcus saw more destruction. Buildings half consumed by void tiers, vehicles abandoned in the streets. The colonial forces were fighting bravely but hopelessly against an enemy they couldn't comprehend. The Void Eaters feed on fear as much as matter, the ancient voices explained. They are drawn to worlds with sentient life because the energy of consciousness is particularly nourishing to them. How do we stop them? Marcus asked silently. The blade, now a part of you, was designed not to destroy but to transform. The Void Eaters were once beings of light, like us. They chose to embrace the void, to feed on existence rather than nurture it. The blade can remind them of what they once were. The military convoy arrived at the command center, a reinforced bunker beneath the colony's administrative building. Inside, colonial officials and military officers gathered around holographic displays showing the spread of void tiers across the planet. The commander escorted Marcus into the main control room. Governor, he said to a gray-haired woman with a stern expression, this is Marcus Chen. He claims to know what these things are and how to fight them. All eyes turned to Marcus. He could see the fear and desperation on their faces. These were people used to being in control, now facing something completely beyond their understanding. They're called Void Eaters. Marcus began. They exist partly outside our reality. That's why your weapons can't hurt them. They consume energy and matter, erasing it completely from existence. How do you know this? The governor demanded. Marcus hesitated, then decided on a simplified version of the truth. I made contact with a being who has fought them before. She passed her knowledge to me before she died. The alien entity our sensors detected, the commander said. Yes. And this knowledge tells you how to stop these Void Eaters? The governor asked skeptically. It does, Marcus confirmed, but I can't do it alone. I need your help to evacuate as many people as possible from this region. The main Void Eater force is coming, and when it arrives, this entire area will become a battlefield. One of the military officers scoffed. You expect us to trust you based on some story about an alien giving you special knowledge? You were a medic who cracked under pressure, Chen. Your file says you've been hiding out here for years. Why should we believe anything you say? In response, Marcus allowed the crystal essence to flow more freely through him. The veins appeared across his skin, glowing with an inner light that filled the dimly lit bunker. When he spoke again, his voice carried harmonics that seemed to resonate with the air itself. "Because I'm your only hope," he said, his voice blending with the echoes of 1,000 ancient voices. "These Void Eaters have consumed countless worlds before ours. They've hunted the ancients to near extinction, and now they've found us. Either you work with me or this colony dies." Then Earth, then everything. Stunned silence filled the room. The governor was the first to recover. "What do you need us to do?" "Tell them to gather their forces at the temple site." Eliara's voice guided him. The Sacre. The ancient temple had partially collapsed, but its central chamber remained intact. Colonial forces established a defensive perimeter around the site, though Marcus knew their weapons would be useless against the Void Eaters. Still, their presence gave him time to prepare. Marcus sat cross-legged in the center of the chamber, eyes closed, communing with the ancient voices within him. The knowledge they offered was vast, too much for a human mind to process all at once. He needed to focus on what would help them survive the coming attack. "The main force approaches," Eliara's voice warned. "You must be ready." "Show me how to fight them," Marcus replied mentally. Memories that weren't his own flowed into his consciousness. Ancient battles against the Void Eaters. Strategies, tactics. The true nature of the crystal blade now fused with his being. The commander entered the chamber, his boots echoing on the stone floor. "Chen," he said, "our orbital sensors have detected something massive entering the system. Multiple objects larger than anything we've ever recorded. They'll reach us within the hour." Marcus opened his eyes. The crystal veins glowed softly beneath his skin. "Have all civilians been evacuated from the area?" "As many as possible. We're still loading the last transports, but there's no way to evacuate the entire planet in time." "I know." Marcus stood up, feeling the power of the ancients flowing through him more easily now. "Tell your people to be ready. When the main force arrives, get everyone inside this temple. It's built from materials the Void Eaters find difficult to consume." The commander nodded, then hesitated. "Chen, what exactly are you planning to do?" "Something that hasn't been tried in 10,000 years, Marcus replied. "I'm going to try to heal them." "Heal them? These things are eating our planet and you want to heal them?" "They weren't always like this," Marcus explained. "According to the knowledge I've been given, the Void Eaters were once beings of creation like the ancients. They chose a different path. The blade," he gestured to his chest where the crystal essence had fused with him, "was designed to remind them of what they once were." The commander looked skeptical, but didn't argue further. He had seen enough today to know he was out of his depth. "Good luck," he said simply, then left to rejoin his troops. Marcus returned to his meditation, diving deeper into the ancient knowledge. As he did, he became aware of changes happening within his own body. The crystal essence was rewriting him on a cellular level, making him more than human, a bridge between what humanity was and what it could become. An hour passed, then another. The sky grew darker as more void tears appeared in the atmosphere. The air itself felt thin, as if reality was being stretched to its breaking point. "They are here," the ancient voices announced in unison. Marcus opened his eyes and stood. It was time. He emerged from the temple to find the colonial forces gathered in tight formation. Their faces showed fear, but also determination. Humans had always faced the unknown with courage. It was one of the traits the ancients had built into them. "They're coming," Marcus announced, his voice carrying unnaturally far. "Get everyone inside the temple now. Do not engage them. Your weapons cannot hurt them." The soldiers began to fall back toward the temple entrance. As they did, the sky split open above them. Not a void tear this time, but something much larger, a rift in reality itself. Through this rift came the Void Eaters. Marcus had seen them in the ancient memories, but experiencing them firsthand was different. They had no fixed shape. They were absences, holes in the world that moved with purpose. Where they passed, matter simply ceased to exist. Not destroyed, but erased completely, as if it had never been. The ground around the temple began to disappear, consumed by the advancing Void Eaters. Trees, rocks, the very soil all vanished into nothingness. The colonial forces retreated faster, some firing uselessly at the approaching entities. Marcus stepped forward, alone, to face the Void Eaters. The crystal veins appeared fully now, covering his body in glowing patterns of light. The knowledge of the ancients surged through him, guiding his actions. He raised his hands, and energy flowed outward, not attacking the Void Eaters, but creating a barrier around the temple and the remaining soldiers. The barrier wasn't physical. It was a reinforcement of reality itself, making it harder for the Void Eaters to erase. "Get inside," Marcus shouted to the remaining soldiers. "I can't hold them back for long." The commander was the last to enter the temple, giving Marcus a final nod before disappearing inside. Now Marcus stood alone against entities that had consumed entire star systems. The largest of the Void Eaters approached him, a shifting absence in reality that seemed to bend the light around it. It paused as if surprised to encounter resistance. "It recognizes the essence of the ancients within you," Elira's voice explained. "It remembers its ancient enemy." Marcus reached deeper into the knowledge flowing through him. The Void Eaters and ancients had once been the same species, beings of pure energy and consciousness that helped shape the early universe. But where the ancients chose to create, the Void Eaters chose to consume. The crystal blade had been designed not as a weapon, but as a reminder. A way to show the Void Eaters what they had forgotten. Marcus lowered his defensive barrier and stepped forward, directly toward the largest Void Eater. It was a move that defied all logic and self-preservation instinct. But the ancient knowledge guided him. The void entity surrounded him, beginning to erase the matter of his body. Pain unlike anything Marcus had ever experienced shot through him. He was being unmade atom by atom, but the crystal essence fought back, rebuilding him as quickly as he was being erased. It was a stalemate, one that wouldn't last long before the crystal essence was depleted. With the Void Eater literally flowing through him, Marcus reached out with his consciousness, touching the entity's awareness directly. It was ancient, cold, hungry beyond understanding. But beneath that hunger, buried deep, was something else. Memory. Marcus pushed the ancient memories through this connection, memories of creation rather than consumption. The birth of stars, the seeding of life, the joy of watching new species take their first steps toward consciousness. The Void Eater recoiled, but Marcus held the connection. More memories flowed, the moment when the beings that would become Void Eaters made their choice. Their gradual transformation from creators to consumers. The war between former brothers that nearly destroyed the galaxy. "Show it," Elira's voice urged. "Show it what it has forgotten." Marcus pushed deeper, offering not just memories but emotion. The satisfaction of creation, the wonder of new life, the beauty of diversity. All the things the Void Eaters had abandoned in their endless hunger. The entity's grip on Marcus weakened slightly. It was remembering, taking advantage of this moment. Marcus released more of the crystal essence into the Void Eater, not attacking, but offering, sharing. The essence spread through the void entity like light through darkness. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, a change. The emptiness at the heart of the Void Eater began to fill with something new, or rather, something very old. Its form shifted, becoming less a hole in reality and more a being of dark light. Not fully transformed, but no longer simply a consumer of existence. The other Void Eaters had paused their advance, watching this transformation with what might have been confusion or fear. Marcus fell to his knees, exhausted by the effort. The crystal essence within him had been depleted significantly. He didn't have enough strength to transform the rest of the Void Eaters the same way. "You don't need to," Elira's voice told him. Watch the transformed Void Eater turn toward its brethren. It communicated with them in a way Marcus couldn't understand, not with sounds or thoughts, but with shifts in the fabric of reality itself. It was sharing what it had remembered, what it had become. Some of the Void Eaters retreated, unwilling to accept this change, but others drew closer, curious. The transformed entity touched them one by one, passing on the spark of memory that Marcus had awakened. More transformations began. Not all of them. Many Void Eaters fled back through the rift they had created, but enough to matter. Each transformed entity joined in the work, spreading the change among those willing to remember. Marcus watched in awe as beings that had been emptiness incarnate became something new. Neither ancient nor Void Eater, but something in between. They retained their ability to alter reality, but now used it to restore what had been consumed rather than erase more. The commander emerged from the temple, gaping at the scene before him. "What's happening?" he asked Marcus. "They're remembering," Marcus replied, his voice weak from the effort. "Remembering what they used to be. What they can be again." As they watched, the transformed entities began to repair the damage they had caused. Areas that had been erased from existence were restored. Not exactly as they had been, but close enough. Trees regrew in seconds. "The landscape healed itself. Will they all change?" the commander asked. "No," Marcus said, drawing on the ancient knowledge. "Many will refuse. The hunger has defined them for too long. They'll retreat for now, but they'll return eventually. This is just the beginning of a much longer conflict." The commander helped Marcus to his feet. "But we have a way to fight them now. Thanks to you." Marcus shook his head. "Not just me. All of us." He placed a hand on the commander's shoulder, allowing a tiny portion of the crystal essence to flow. Into the man the commander gasped as new awareness blossomed in his mind, not the full knowledge of the ancients too. Months had passed since the battle at the temple. News of what happened on the remote colony world had spread throughout human space, despite official attempts to control the information. The stories varied widely. Tales of a medic who became something more than human, of ancient aliens and world-eating voids, of humanity's true origins as a created species. Most dismissed these stories as fantasies born from the trauma of the attack. But some believed, some had seen with their own eyes, and some had felt the spark of awakening within themselves. Marcus stood on the bridge of the Colonial Defense Force flagship, Horizon, looking out at the stars. The crystal veins beneath his skin glowed faintly, visible only to those who knew what to look for. He wore a modified military uniform that the commander, now Admiral Chen, had insisted upon. A symbol of authority, though Marcus had never sought such power. "The fleet is assembled," Admiral Chen said, joining Marcus at the viewport. 37 ships, the largest battle group ever formed by the colonial forces. Earth has pledged support as well, though their ships won't arrive for another 3 weeks. "It won't be enough," Marcus replied. "Not against the main Void Eater force." The Admiral nodded. The small spark of ancient knowledge Marcus had shared with him had grown, giving him a deeper understanding of the threat they faced. "That's why we're not fighting them conventionally," he said. "That's why we have you. And them." He gestured to the other side of the bridge. 3 of the transformed entities, once Void Eaters, now something new, floated near the ceiling. They no longer appeared as holes in reality, but as shifting forms of dark light. The crew had taken to calling them redeemed, though Marcus wasn't sure if redemption was the right concept. "Have the volunteers been prepared?" Marcus asked. "Yes. 5,000 colonial soldiers and civilians who passed your test, all willing to accept the change." Marcus closed his eyes briefly, feeling the weight of responsibility. The test had been simple, a small offering of the crystal essence to each volunteer. Those whose minds could handle the partial awakening without breaking were selected. Those who couldn't were gently refused. Their memories of the attempt softened. "We should proceed then," Marcus said. "The Void Eaters are regrouping. Our window of opportunity is closing." Together, they walked from the bridge to the ship's largest cargo bay, which had been converted into a ceremonial space. 5,000 men and women stood in neat rows dressed in simple gray uniforms. They came from all walks of life: soldiers, scientists, engineers, farmers, teachers. What united them was their willingness to become something more than human. As Marcus entered, a hush fell over the assembled volunteers. Many bowed their heads slightly. Some placed their hands over their hearts. Marcus had repeatedly refused to be worshipped, but humans naturally gravitated towards symbols and figureheads. He had become both despite his protests. Admiral Chen spoke first, his voice echoing through the cavernous space. "You all know why you're here. You've heard the truth. Parts of it anyway, about what happened on Colony World ES-117, about what's coming for all of us, about what humans truly are." He paused, looking out over the crowd. "Today you take the first step toward becoming what our species was always meant to be. The inheritors of the ancient legacy, the guardians of life itself." Marcus stepped forward. The crystal veins appeared more prominently beneath his skin now, glowing with inner light. "What I offer you is not without cost," he said, his voice carrying easily without the need for amplification. You will gain knowledge and abilities beyond normal human capacity. You will see the universe as it truly is, but you will also carry a burden of responsibility that few have ever borne. You will never again be able to stand aside and let events unfold without you. You will be bound to the defense of life, all life against the void. A murmur ran through the crowd. Not of fear or hesitation, but of determination. These people had already made their choice. They were here because they believed in what Marcus represented, humanity's next step. I ask you one last time, Marcus continued. Are you willing to accept this change, knowing it cannot be undone? We are willing, the 5,000 voices responded in unison. Marcus nodded to the 3 redeemed entities floating near the ceiling. They began to move among the crowd, their dark light spreading in tendrils. At the same time, Marcus released a carefully measured portion of the crystal essence from within himself. It flowed outward in a wave, touching each volunteer. Where it met the dark light of the redeemed, the 2 energies merged, creating something new. The volunteers gasped as the change began. Crystal veins appeared beneath their skin, glowing softly before fading from view. Their eyes widened as new knowledge and awareness flooded their minds, not the full power of the ancients, but enough to transform them. To awaken what had been dormant within humanity since its creation, the process took hours. Marcus maintained his concentration throughout, guiding the flow of energy, ensuring that no one received too much too quickly. The redeemed moved among the volunteers, sharing their own unique perspective. The view of beings who had chosen to turn away from consumption toward creation. When it was done, 5,000 newly awakened humans stood before Marcus. They looked the same outwardly, but their eyes held new understanding, new purpose. What you've received is just the beginning, Marcus told them. The ancient knowledge will unfold within you gradually as you're ready for it. Learn from it. Share with each other. Help those still unawakened to understand what's coming. And the Void Eaters? One of the volunteers asked. When will they return? Soon, Marcus replied grimly. The ones who fled have rejoined the main force. They're sharing what happened, how some of their kind were transformed. The hunger that drives them will be even greater now, mixed with fear of what we represent. Admiral Chen stepped forward again. That's why you'll be distributed throughout human space. Each of you will lead teams to identify and train more volunteers. We need as many awakened humans as possible before the main attack comes. How long do we have? Another volunteer asked. Marcus consulted the ancient knowledge within him. A year, maybe less. The Void Eaters move in ways that don't always align with normal space-time. Will it be enough? Admiral Chen asked quietly. It has to be, Marcus replied. The meeting concluded and the newly awakened humans dispersed to prepare for their new roles. Some would remain with the fleet. Others would return to Earth or the core colonies. Still others would journey to the farthest human outposts, spreading the awakening as far as possible. Marcus returned to his quarters, a sparse room that reflected his continued discomfort with his position. Admiral Chen followed him. Earth's governments are still demanding explanations, the Admiral said once the door was closed. The videos from ES-117 have gone viral despite the information blackout. People are frightened, confused. Some religious groups are calling you a messiah. Others are calling you a demon. Marcus sighed. I'm neither. Just a medic who was in the wrong place at the right time. You're more than that now, the Admiral said. Whether you wanted to be or not. I know. Marcus sat heavily on the edge of his bed. The burden of the ancient knowledge sometimes felt crushing. We need to be honest with Earth, with everyone. No more secrecy. Humanity deserves to know the truth about what's coming. I agree. But there will be panic, denial, resistance. Better that than ignorance when the Void Eaters arrive. Marcus looked up at the Admiral. Prepare a system-wide broadcast. I'll tell everyone what we're facing, what humanity really is, what we need to become. The Admiral nodded and left to make the arrangements. Marcus closed his eyes, communing with the ancient voices within him. Eliara's voice, still distinct among the chorus, offered guidance and perspective. You've taken the first steps well, she told him. The awakening spreads faster than we hoped. Will it be enough? Marcus asked the question that haunted him. 5,000 awakened humans, even if we can train more, can we really stand against the full might of the Void Eaters? Humanity has advantages even my people lacked, Eliara replied. Your adaptability, your creativity in the face of impossible odds. Your capacity for both logical problem-solving and intuitive leaps, these are the traits we built into you, knowing someday they would be needed. Marcus wasn't entirely convinced, but he took comfort in her confidence. He had seen the memories of the ancient civilization at its height, their achievements, their wisdom, their power. If they believed in humanity's potential, perhaps he should too. A soft chime indicated an incoming communication. It was Admiral Chen. "The broadcast system is ready," he said. "Whenever you are." Marcus took a deep breath, steeling himself for what was to come. He would be changing human history forever. Once he told the truth to everyone, there would be no going back. "I'm ready," he said. He followed the Admiral to the ship's communication center. A simple chair sat before a recording setup. From here, his message would be transmitted to every human settlement across dozens of star systems. Billions would hear his words simultaneously. As Marcus sat down, he felt the presence of the ancients within him. Thousands of beings who had shaped the cosmos, now residing in high,